and welcome to episode 547 of the God is a Geek podcast. My name's Adam Cook, and I'm your host this week, along with Chris Hyde and Lyle Carr. Hello, both of you. How are you?
He's really started doing this all the time, hasn't he? It's his new favourite thing, the double introduction.
I mean, you won't have noticed, Lyle, because you don't care about it as much as I do. But I swear last week he introduced me first and I got my ego back and I was like, yeah. And so it's almost worse to then revert back. Because it gives you the false sense of superiority.
At the same time,
nope.
But you second.
What's that?
Did I introduce you both at the same time, but you second then, did I?
No. What I'm saying is I think 2 pods ago you did that and it annoyed me, and then last time you introduced me first, and I was like, yes, back to reality.
I mean, this is riveting, isn't it, for the listener?
This is what they care about.
This is the podcast magic that gets you to subscribe to get the early podcast on patreon.com/GodIsAGeek, where you can find this and other things new and exclusively early. That was my new radio voice, by the way.
You went very Radio 4 then for a
brief second. It's my new radio voice. I thought I'd try something a bit new. It's just like a little bit upmarket, I think.
Yeah, just see if that's the thing that gets the Patreon.
Well, no, it's just I caught. We'll get into the games very quickly, but I caught audio of myself on an older podcast. I forget why, and my voice has got lazy. That's all. And I felt like I used to do this kind of "Hi, I'm Ed Winchester" kind of, like all the time. And now I'm just like, "All right, guys, here's it going." You know, go post talks about fucking games and all that. And
this is not the normal voice either.
No, okay. Yeah. But this is about balance, isn't it? It's that you can go too far in one direction or the other, which leads us kind of neatly into no, clear, Chris, don't take my segue. Don't take my segue. That was lined up. That was scripted. Oh. You can go one way or the other with balance of playing a game like Dragon's Dogma 2, can't you, Chris? The fact I was actually going to throw it to you as well is what's killing me the most.
I was just going to point out that clearly you think all Cockney people are scum because that's the lower class.
I'm from... That's my roots. Like, both my parents are Cockneys.
Oh, so you're from up north?
Moving on.
He does believe that.
That's Fast Show stuff still. Why's Fast Show in my mind at the moment? I don't know.
It's not a bad thing.
No.
Dragon's Dogma 2.
Yeah, a video game on a video game podcast.
So I wasn't here. I don't know what, I can't remember what I was doing. Something clearly more important when you guys were discussing it the first time. So I haven't had my chance to deliver my monologue of Dragon's Dogma 2. So strap in, folks, because here we go. So I won't bore everybody with what the game is because you guys have already talked about that. But my perspective on this, it's a weird one because my opinion of this game when I first started playing it is very different to my opinion of it now, having played about 60 hours of it. Somehow found 60 hours to play. When I first started playing Dragon's Dogma 2, I said this to you, Adam, so it will come as no surprise, but I was like, it's just Dragon's Dogma 1.5. And I don't mean that in necessarily the kind of...
It's worth noting, listener or watcher, that off podcast he is incredibly dismissive of all video games, exactly in that manner that you just had then.
Mm-hmm. Very reductive, I'd say.
Yeah, reductive is the word.
But thank you for giving me the opportunity to then explain why I was going to say and why I called it that. Because I think...
is it because when you load the game up, that doesn't actually have a 2 on the title screen? Which tickles me a little bit.
Talking about that, I think this is probably a contender for biggest disappointment of the year. The fact that the start of Dragon's Dogma 2 doesn't have some random J-pop rock star screaming over the top of a camera panning over a dragon, which the first game had.
Oh yeah, but it wouldn't. I don't know.
Really sort of weird, out of place J-pop singing across like. What you think would be like a Skyrim landscape. That was all the rage. Really weird.
That was all the rage at the time. Like all games had an attract. They used to call them attract modes, didn't they? Attract videos. That basically, if they were on in it's because when you used to have games like on a console on display in a Curry's or Dixon's. That would keep playing over and over again. You wouldn't get screen burning from a title screen, but you'd get this attract mode where people go, "Oh, I'm attracted to the."
Yeah. But it was just the
video
audio.
Game history with your geezer Adam Cook.
Yeah, and it was weird because it was just the audio, and it was so not like medieval fantasy type thing. It was current. Anyway, so that annoyingly that's not there. They've gone for a more traditional dramatic music opening like a Skyrim type
boring.
Thing. Yeah, boring. They had it right. How many
did.
years ago was it? Was it about 10 years ago?
It was over 10.
Yeah, so the reason I say 1.5, let's go back to that, was because I'd not looked a lot about what was in the game. I wanted to be kind of surprised. I wanted to go in quite blind to it, if I'm honest. But 10 years is a little while.
And so happened game-wise.
And so, yeah, especially game-wise. And so I had built up in my head that this was going to be, it was going to still feel like Dragon's Dogma, but there was going to be a lot of differences to it from the first game. And there's actually quite a lot of stuff that they've kept the same. And I remember thinking at the first, like, okay, it's not, it's almost like, if you ignore, I think maybe the scale of it a little bit, and you ignore some of the technical stuff, this could have been a game that came out sort of 2 or 3 years after the original game, in terms of like a follow-on, in terms of the nature of the, I guess the progression of the development, because the game is like, it keeps a lot of, what was in Dragon's Dogma. It just does, right? And it's unapologetic about that. You guys have spoken about that. So when I first started playing it, I was like, oh, okay, that's fine. I did like Dragon's Dogma, the original game, as we've talked about before, but I was a bit surprised. But then for the next 59 hours, I haven't been able to stop playing it because it's like crack cocaine. And I think it's
allegedly.
It's well, yeah. Sorry, yeah.
Not allegedly.
I have never done crack cocaine. I can't possibly comment on whether it is as addictive as that. But
I think it probably is. I mean, by
I think
all
it probably
reports.
is. It's. I'm sure if I was addicted to crack cocaine, I'd have done that for 60 hours in the last few weeks as well. But like it's one of those games that, like, it's a bit like Elden Ring, I think. I'm trying to think of similar type games.
Skyrim.
Well, yes, obviously. No, but
Oblivion.
Not for the fact that, okay, I'm not talking about medieval with dragons here. What I'm talking about
Dragon Age.
But yeah. God, yeah, it was a dragony time back 10 years ago, wasn't it? I'm talking about like the kind of like the water cooler game, because we have a lot of chat in our Discord at the moment with people playing it. And
right.
Like,
well, Zelda, Breath of the
Wild was like this.
Tears of the
definitely.
Kingdom. There aren't many games, despite being in an era where like technology is, there aren't actually many games where you kind of, there's the illusion of you can go off and do whatever you want. But it is an illusion, and it's broken usually pretty quickly. Yeah, there aren't many games where you can actually kind of just do that, really do that, is there?
Yeah, and it's like there's enough there to then generate those moments. Like, and that's why I like say Breath of the Wild was one. Elden Ring was definitely one where, because people could just go off in any direction, and it creates those stories of, like I say, we have in our Discord, this happened to me last night, and there can literally be people who've put in tens of hours like me go, I have not seen that like in my game, and other people go, oh, I've seen it 3 times. And it is just one of those things. Like you gave an example earlier, and I was like, you're like, I've played for 20 hours and not seen that. And I'm like,
Griffin,
I haven't. My mind. Yeah, and it's
it
very
I've seen
much
dragons.
Yeah, stay away from them.
I learned that very quickly, especially since I'd switched from Archer to like a melee character. I was like, oh no, this ain't working for me. Yeah. I was much happier when they did all the work and I was just at the back going, like explosive arrows.
I will say, like, the combat is fucking superb. I've now done, I've maxed out all but like 3 or 4 of the classes. The difference how each class plays and how it feels good to play and situational. They all do work. I do think there's harder ones to start with, i.e. to be your first class on. I do think Archer is probably one of the easier ones, and that's what me and you went with through luck rather than judgment. But they are all viable, and I do think that's a real achievement from what I've played, apart from Trickster, which is dog shit, and I'll say that till I'm blue in the face. But generally speaking, I think all of the classes aside from that are really interesting, do feel different to play, and are viable as the main person, like that, because it's all you and 3 pawns. It's not like co-op, and some of the AI can be a bit like all AI companions. It's like, do that now kind of thing. And it's like, so I think the good thing is that even like being like a mage or a magic wielder or an archer is viable as the main, human controlled character. I do think it's very well done in that respect, that having, like I say, maxed out various different classes, I do feel like I have my preferences. Obviously, the Mystic Spearhand is fucking banging.
It's great fun.
The best one, I think. But
it's still messy. Like I don't want to. I think the time for the real deep discussion on some elements of what this game breaks down to is later this year. I do. I want to be careful how I say this because I don't want to upset and anger too many people. I like almost everything Capcom does aside Mega Man. Basically, I pretty much.
And who likes Mega Man? Let's be clear.
Whoa, okay, calm that down.
He's about to slag off Dragon's Dogma, so I'm just making it fair.
Okay,
Carry on.
What I would say is that I find that with Capcom developed titles, there are kind of two sides to the coin, and by that, like, you have games that feel incredibly modern. Your Devil May Cry's, like the modern Resident Evil games feel like modern, almost Western, designed video games. Then you have the other side of the coin, where I think this Dragon's Dogma sits, and I think it sits with games like
Monster Hunter Rise.
Hunter.
I know what you're saying.
We
knew it was World versus Rise before you.
To be clear, I like all the games I have listed here. I like, but I think there is very much two different, like, not design ethoses, but it's more about game feel for me.
I know.
And I think
what
Dragon's
you mean.
Dogma 2 feels way more Monster Hunter than. I mean, would you want Resident Evil? Whatever, 4 remake.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think that's something you either can get on with or you can't. And I'm never like in love with the Monster Hunter games, but I like them.
Yeah.
And this, I think, the caveat I would give to people who are still like, all the stories, all the hype, is like, don't go into it expecting it to even feel, I would say, like Elden Ring in terms of modern feel in your controller.
No. Okay, yeah. So the Elden Ring comparison is purely I know.
I'm just saying that's
you're
my
absolutely
comparison.
right. When I said Dragon's Dogma 1.5, it very much because it.
To be fair, you did say that, and that you haven't said that you disagree with it. So,
and it is, like you say, it's almost, it's by design. It's unashamedly that, and it's unashamedly.
Yeah.
I mean, arguably, unashamedly a bit janky for 10 years ago, in the sense of it doesn't care that that's how it's going to do things.
Yep.
And that's how it's and a lot of some of that is chosen to keep for Dragon's Dogma 2.
It's in that category of Hideo Kojima game or Suda 51, where you might really enjoy them, but it's very much without that name associated with it, that you would know, like Kojima. It is very much that I had an idea and I've implemented it exactly how I wanted to implement it. You might not like that, but it's not an accident. I haven't done this by mistake. It's not deliberately. It's not mistakenly awkward or janky. It is deliberate in every sense. In the way that you might play a Kojima game and be like, really? But it's like that's what that was the intent. Now whether you like that or not,
I guess, and we've had small conversations about this. I'd actually think I'd rather prefer this side in terms of, like, rather than just going, well, let's tick all the boxes of the things.
Well, it stops it being generic open world adventure.
Yeah, exactly that. And I think at least therefore you go, well, this is its own thing. It's definitely its own thing. It's
kind of wild. Because when you think about Breath of the Wild, those kind of games, it's kind of wild that what those games have done, arguably, is go, we are going to take something that is a massively established name, especially in the case of Zelda, but make something that is arguably totally counter to every other game of that style.
The ironic
and then everyone's decided that we're going to copy that. And it's like...
Yeah, exactly. And the ironic thing is, obviously, when this came out originally 10 years ago, people just went, well, it's just a Wish Skyrim, right? It's like a poor person's Skyrim. It's because it came out, I think, the year after or something, very quite close to it, didn't it?
It was definitely close.
And it was like, okay, well, it's a fancy open world dragon type game. You know, I'm not the Dragonborn, I'm the Arisen, but it's essentially the same thing. And you look, when you play Dragon's Dogma, you're like, it's nothing like Skyrim. It's its own thing. And then it's basically just gone, and that is our thing, and that's what we're going to do. So yeah, you're right. It's very much sticking to that. And you people might hate it. People might prefer what you would assume would be in the kind of open world, kind of medieval fantasy kind of setting. But it's got that something that digs its claws into me, and I find myself doing that thing where you go, I've got every intention of fulfilling said quest that I've marked on my map, and then 4 caves, but 3 ogres and a cyclops later, I've achieved nothing.
But
I've had a fun evening.
That I know why this has got you, and it's the same because it does. I will never purposefully compare this to Tears of the Kingdom, right? Or modern Zelda, right?
Yeah.
But it does do this thing that those games do as well, is that you go to turn in a quest, and in turning in that quest, somewhere along the way, you will add 3 further quests.
Yeah.
And Dragon's Dogma 2 does that in spades. Like, I did this exact thing. I was like, I'm bloody well... It was a really early quest. It's not really a spoiler because it's a side quest, but it was relating to a beggar. Okay, and I've
still not done that.
Well, this is what I mean. I've had that in my for so long, and I was like, I've had enough because I'm not to the degree Pixel Hunter of you are, but I really do like a nice tidy.
Keep the list short. Yeah,
I don't like that list spiraling out of control. So I was like, no, this seems simple enough. I don't really know what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna look it up. Right, I've got the basis of it. Let's do it. But in doing that, because this game also does this thing where someone will just talk at you.
Yeah.
You will be walking to an objective, but the person who is a quest giver will walk near you, and they'll just be like, and you're now looking at them, and that is it. You are having this conversation. So in doing that quest, I unlocked 2 or 3 further ones, and I think that's what it is. I think it's that the Sweetie Trail, where you can't stop, because I'd argue it's not. I wouldn't say it's a passive game because you are actively controlling it, but like sometimes because of the way the pawns work in the combat, you can almost take it not passively, but you
especially
if you're playing as an archer, you can almost retract yourself a bit and kind of command the battle a little bit.
Yeah, the I guess the range stuff 100%. Melee, not a chance. You've got to get
under
the
in.
gonads and get into it. But yeah, you 100%. And that's why I'm really glad I tried the other classes, because you're right. There can necessarily be with an archer in particular. I think you can just go, I know you're not doing this, but you just mash A because it's automatic lock on and stuff, and it can feel a bit passive. And the combat is it's a lot more than that, and I really enjoyed it, and I still enjoy it now. Every time I see one of the big uns, whatever it is, it's getting annihilated. I don't care even if it's like, it's just a 2-bar Cyclops, don't give a shit, it's going to go down in about 5 seconds, whatever. It's still getting decked. But even like if I see a wolf, I'm like, well, you shouldn't be on the same road as me, mate. And
in the wilds where you live.
Yeah. It's rough in Northampton.
Have you finished it yet? Have you seen credits yet?
No,
because I know you were close.
No, so it got to the point, right, where I was like, I'm at the last boss, and I loaded an old save because I didn't want to end it, and so now I'm back out in the wilds exploring again. See you in 15 hours.
Regardless of what score you'd give it, regardless of what it gets, terms of Game of the Year.
Yeah.
That says something quite significant to me, because, like, I can't speak for Lyle. Weigh in, by all means, Lyle. Finished Persona 3 Reload, and when I hit that 60-hour mark and I realised I was near the end, there was other stuff I could have done, but I was like, you can sort of get the game going a bit quicker in that game. It's not the same as Dragon's Dogma, but there was definitely, like, 60 hours... I'm ready now. I'm ready to see the credits now. And so the fact that you're like, sure, actually, I'm not, is significant.
I will make a bold statement that may come back to bite me later in the year or whatever. But I could be truthful. No. Let me say what it's going to. Because this game, you're right. Every time I load this game up, I am making a conscious decision not to play and finish Infinite Wealth. I'm making a conscious decision.
Final Fantasy Rebirth.
Not to go and see Aerith. I'm making a conscious decision there, and I know she's not happy with me. So this is the most addictive game I've played this year. The one that keeps me going back the most. The one that has got its claws into me, no pun intended, the most this year. Not saying it's the best game. I'm saying it's the one that I can't let go of, for better or worse.
Yeah, because if I'm where you are, I would see credits and go, right, I might come back to this because I love it that much, but at 60 hours, I'm ready now to finish Rebirth.
I think where I'll get to, if I'm honest, I will want to... I don't know, it's spoilers to talk about the later vocations and stuff, but I want to max them out, the later ones. But
is there any point in doing that if once you...
Because I don't want to reveal what I'm doing, but like, it's like... There's no point to any of it. In that sense, but like, you know, that's what I want to do.
What is the point?
What's the point in games?
So that's probably what I'll do. And then I'll go
and then what I'll do is go and save up. I'll probably go and sell everything to make like 1 million coins. Go and buy all the best weapons and armor, and then just go and wreck the shit out of the final boss. And that'll be my game.
I can understand that. Yeah, I can.
Yeah. So, but how
far in your mind away is that? Like.
Probably
10, 20?
10 hours. I don't know, because I don't know how quick these weapon things are going to... Because
even with Rebirth, when I hit that end chapter, I knew it was pre-release, so I didn't know that it was like the end. Yeah. But I had a feeling, given on the story, that like there's probably no way back. In fact, I think they do tell you. A lot of games do nowadays. Like, hey, listen,
Remake definitely did it. Where so you know,
I'm pretty sure it does. So I was like, right, I do have some shit I want to do. But then when I got to a certain point, I was ready to be... I mean, maybe part of me was like, I assume I can probably... Well, I did. I made like a safety save. I do that a lot now with games like that I really enjoy the world of. Make a safety save that if I do decide...
It annoys me there's only 10 slave slots in Rebirth. Not that I've used them all.
Bloody hell, really?
Well, what I was doing... off top tangent. I was saving at the end of every chapter just because...
Because that's important to do, yeah.
Because it's important to do.
I get it. You're worried you can't go back 100% something, or
I'll go and see something that I've missed, like less than 100%, more like, oh, you've locked yourself out, but you can go and experience it.
No, I can exclusively reveal there is a moment where it says, hey, this is that moment, like in Remake. But I was like, even pre-release was like, I'm ready to see. Also, maybe it's a bit different because the story, perhaps, of Rebirth is a bit more of a draw than... Let's not sit here and pretend Dragon's Dogma 2 story is incredible and is going to...
Oh, it's a Shakespearean epic, yes, of course.
So there was perhaps part of me where it's like, also it's a remake, as Lyle will be aware that there is stuff you want to see in Rebirth that you're like, I need to see this. How have they done this? So it's, maybe not a... Well, listen, we'll see. 10 hours... I reckon you'll have played 10 hours by the time the next pod rolls around. I would.
It'll be a test, given the current run rate. Yeah, I'll finish it by this evening.
Yeah, maybe. But,
so maybe I'll play 1 hour by then.
Yeah,
yeah. So it's good.
Well, you mentioned like the Moorish nature of it, and I think that does neatly tie into another game that's next on our
Zelda
list.
As well.
We mentioned Zelda. We mentioned Moorish games, which means we can talk about a game all three of us have finished. Ooh. Lyle gave 9 out of 10 to on godasgeek.com, and it is a game I suspect that people probably won't have heard of, which is a great shame. But Lyle, Minishoot Adventures.
Minishoot apostrophe.
Oh, can we just talk about that before we get into it? Can games stop doing that?
Upset him so much.
It upsets my SEO out of my ass. Can you just Minishoot Adventures, no apostrophe?
I wasn't expecting it to go this hard, this heavy, this quick, but I can reveal I contacted the PR and asked them about this and have been holding this moment until now.
Go on then.
Beautiful.
You're not going to be happy.
Probably not. Carry on.
I just said, why does it have the apostrophe in the title?
Fair.
Because, do either of you have any opinion on why? We will talk about the game, but...
It's a bit weird. It's very
fucking weird. Unless there's some reason they had to include it because there's another Minishoot Adventures and they've put an apostrophe to differentiate.
Fine guess, sir, but it's not that. The reply is, to our knowledge, the apostrophe comes because Minishoot is the name of your ship character and is like a contraction of the Adventures of Minishoot. Which didn't...
So like Minishoot's Adventures, even though Minishoot doesn't end with an S and therefore need an apostrophe after it?
Yes.
That's worse than I expected, really.
Yes, and I would say we move on and talk about the game from that. But
that's irritating.
He doesn't want to.
No, I knew. I only wanted to read it on the podcast because I knew, having read it, would annoy you more. Okay. And you'll never know if I even made that up. I might have made it up.
You didn't make it up.
But
Definitely.
It would take me even more if you made it up.
But speaking of Zelda games and very Moorish games, because bloody hell, this game's Moorish.
Fucking hell, yeah.
Yeah, this game, I finished this game in 24. I played through and reviewed this game in 24 hours. It was.
And you don't mean it took 24 hours to play. You mean
no? It's the real world. It's about what? Yeah, a real world
7.5,
24 hours.
7.5.
Yeah,
6.5.
Yeah,
banging length as well. Great length, and that's not 100% in it, obviously.
Giggity.
7.5
is a great length. Carry on.
Mm-hmm. Yep, that's what we like to say here on the podcast.
It is.
So yeah. So Minishoot Adventures is, as sort of alluded to, it's basically like, you remember those old Zelda games everyone loved, your Link to the Pasts, your Minish Caps, what have you, all those top-down Zeldas.
And the ones everyone loved, yeah.
Holy shit, when you said that, my brain was like, I'd been comparing this to Zelda 1 and 2 in my head.
Yeah, there was quite a bit after that.
Yeah, you're right. Oh, sorry.
So yeah, it's those games, but imagine instead of being a little lad dressed in green swinging a sword around, you're a spaceship, and it's like a twin-stick shooter, bullet hell jobby, but still Zelda in that you still get your dungeons, your upgrades that mean you can search new areas and stuff like that. And that maybe it's one of those things where it seems like that's just like okay, yeah, sure, I can imagine that. But really, when you think about it, when you think top-down Zelda or anything inspired by top-down Zelda, it doesn't really happen very much anymore. Like, there aren't really like it's not like when you say like, oh, it's a Metroidvania or it's a deck building roguelike, and you're like, oh yeah, like how there's like 20 of those every month at the moment.
But the thing that we all felt when we were playing this is, has this not been done before? Because it feels like it's a
there are other Metroidvanias that do the shooter thing.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't played them. I just did a bit of research into it, and there are, but I haven't seen a game like this that I could pull to memory. It is, yeah. I mean, even the look, like everything about this game is.
It's really lovely looking, yeah.
Mm.
But yeah, it's just this game where you're this little ship, and you're basically tasked with, there are like 4 skull bits you need to get to unlock a big door to go fight what you'll assume is a big final boss. So you have to go into a dungeon to get them. And a lot of what happens along the way is that you'll sort of get often locked into fights where there'll be this like big arena full of like other massive or small spaceships that shoot a shit ton of bullets at you. And you'll fire your bullets back at them, and you'll have to do all the dodging. And, you know, it's actually as well pretty, like, challenging. It's not like...
Did you play it on normal, Lyle? I meant to ask you.
I played it on normal, yeah.
I went back to it today just to quickly capture some footage so that people who are watching this on YouTube, on youtube.com/godisgeek, just to see the game in action. And I forgot, because when I loaded it onto my PC, it was like, oh, which difficulty do you want to try? I was like, oh, yeah. Because I didn't find it hugely challenging, but it was challenging enough. And then I realised I was playing on normal. I was like, oh, well, actually, this could be bloody hard if you wanted it to.
So which ones, remind me which ones, because wasn't it like aim assist, auto shoot, and manual?
And then there's also like
there's also actual difficulty.
Oh, okay, right, okay.
Well.
So because there's definitely so there's that auto aim function of accessibility.
Yes, there is. Yeah. But no, I mean,
and then difficulty. I think I will have been normal, and then manual was what I chose.
Yeah,
so,
same. Yeah, it's just like I feel like especially if you do sort of explore in the wrong direction early on, and you'll just find somewhere where you're like, oh fuck, I'm not meant to be here yet, and you'll be surrounded by a whole lot of shooting. There's a lot of things where you level up and get yourself stronger. Like you can upgrade your gun by collecting a certain currency, and then you also level up alongside that. And there's just like a big, like chart of big screen of points where you can like upgrade like the power of your gun or the shooting speed or your boost and stuff like that. So yeah, there's a lot of scope to get stronger. So if you go in at a bad time, if you time it badly and you go to a tough fight in an area you're maybe not quite supposed to be into yet, it can go downhill fast. I also feel like you don't really get much health in the game. Like I feel like if I got down to like half health, I wouldn't find health pickups before I got into another fight most of the time. So
yeah, I mean,
I died a lot for that reason.
I would imagine Heidi didn't because it also does again. I don't want to keep comparing it to Zelda, but I have to kind of because Zelda is the game you think of where you get 4 heart containers and it gives you.
It literally has 4 heart containers.
They're just blue, not red. Like they are heart pieces. And like by the end, like I actually got another one today just because I had 3 and I found one on a little island, which Chris will probably know to the pinpoint what I'm talking about. A little island with a load of bricks around it. Yeah, no, I suppose you're right. Like what I think, because I think the leveling up thing's really interesting because you level up quick, and it isn't a progressive like, oh, now you're at level 50. It's really hard to grind to level 51. It's just like no, you fill up this bar. I'm pretty sure the same each time. The whole game.
It's the same each time, but the cost to upgrade certain things increases.
And that's mega smart because it means you can happily like hoard 7 or 8 levels or upgrade points, which I did frequently because I was aiming to get my power of my weapon up quickest.
But
it's also that endorphin thing that you're leveling up so much. It's great.
It does a really smart thing.
Yes.
It doesn't really. It's almost inconsequential, but it does this little kind of slow down animation. It comes up with level up, and like the enemy bullets sort of dissipate for about a second, which when they're full on the screen doesn't actually make too much of a difference, but it still feels awesome when it happens. And what I like as well about it with the leveling up is that the respecking is completely free. So like at any point you can go, I'll just take a few out of that and try this.
Okay,
so
I didn't. I thought
it was, but
experimenting. I kept meaning to do it because I think there's a Steam achievement for like
there is,
yeah, and I kept thinking do it, but then I thought, well, if there's an achievement for it, then maybe you're penalised. But I will probably just
it's free. You literally just you can mix and match and try different.
And there are certain times where that will be very helpful as well, especially
there
if
is
you're
very much a certain time where that would be helpful. I don't know at what point to pimp my guides for this, but if you're struggling on what things to level up first, then check out GodIsAGeek.com.
If you have any questions about basically anything, there are guides about this game from Chris Hyde.
But like, it's one of these games, right? Like, I totally get your score, but I also, aside from what you've listed as the negatives, which I'm sure we can go over if need be, but I couldn't stop. And I did stop for a bit because we had it quite early, and I did stop for a bit, and I was like, I want to finish that, and I picked it up and was like, why did I stop? This is amazing. It looks great, it sounds great, it feels great.
The movement is superb.
The movement's superb, but a little thing that surprises me, by the way, and I don't think it's even something we've talked about before. The variety of enemies is actually really impressive for the size of this team.
You look at it originally when you first start, and it just and there's even some examples of it early on where you're like, oh, is that all we're doing? We're just going to put a red trim round things,
now
that means
purple,
they're stronger, and therefore you're just palette swapping. And actually, it kind of subverts the expectation. It does do a bit more of that later on, but then it just introduces new fucking enemies, and
new enemies as well. Like every area, like it is a real. It's a relative. Well, no, it's not relatively. It is a small team that's made this game. And like, I think you know, Lyle, you brought them up in your review. One of the issues you had with it was sort of map stuff, and I totally salute that. Like, it is, the map itself isn't brilliant, but there's no mini map when you're in a dungeon, which is like, I don't think it's an oversight because it's not the sort of thing you just suddenly go,
oops,
you know. But it is the sort of thing I think if it was outsourced or playtested, someone might go, is that doable? Because that would just. It's just an accessibility thing. It just makes it that bit more. It's not like any of the dungeons are like these insanely big.
No, and I think that's
there's just a couple where you do wrap around in them a bit, and you're like, shit, I could have.
And I think I stopped halfway through one dungeon because I needed to do something. And when I came back, I was like, well, I'm fucked then.
Because you mentioned that in the review, and I was just like, yeah, I never did that. So I was like,
no, that would 100% because
you end up with the mental image of the layout of the dungeon in your head, right? So it's like. So I never had that, but I was like, yeah, if I come back to this, I'm going to be like, where have I been and where have I not been?
Yeah.
I mean, the only negative I thought that I played, you did mention in your review, which was the one-hit kill things. That was the only thing for me.
Okay, yeah, I was
like,
but yeah,
because it was always like
a little bit.
it would always be when my hands got a bit sweaty and just got into them by mistake. I'm like, you little fucker, now I've got to go back.
What I would say, and this ties into another complaint. It sounds like I'm moaning about the game. I love this game, by the way.
We all do.
So basically, like you said, there are certain. I think these are more like puzzle elements of a dungeon where they're like the orbs are they're purpley, more of a purple.
Yeah.
And they one hit kill you, and you always go back to the start of the dungeon. I will say they never seem deep into a dungeon. You can get back to them pretty quickly.
Yeah,
but that also ties in a little bit to the fact that I think when you do die in the outside world, it puts you back to there's a central hub area of the game, and that does sometimes feel a little bit too much. I know you mentioned this in the review, and again I was like, yeah, definitely. Like, just it didn't even happen that many times, but the few times I
disagree with that. But that's the one I disagreed with.
The few times that happened, I was like, I was way over there, and the map isn't massive and it isn't that difficult, but it just was a little bit mean, which sort of feels really against the grain of the game's feel. I will say that those purple things don't tend to be in the open world bits. So that doesn't happen.
They're in dungeons. I will. The counterpoint I had to that was I do think the level design, because the level design of like opening back shortcuts to that central piece where you get it happens a lot and is very well done, and so that central point is never out of the way from where you were.
No, I don't think it's like a deal breaker. It
isn't, and I get the point, but
it just feels a little mean, and this game feels kind of. Is the word celebratory too much for how it feels? It just feels like warm.
It feels lovely. It feels happy. You
are a spaceship. There's no voices. There's no discussions happening.
Little chirps and stuff.
But the little chirps, and you rescue other spaceships, and they come to your hub, and they like do little dances, and it's just like it just feels, like I say, warm and celebratory. Like it just feels like a happy game to me. It just feels, and I
think that Zelda comparison as well really helps that, because it's like this is such a familiar type of game almost, but done differently, and one that you don't really see often enough. And it has that feeling of like, God, I can't believe I'm getting to play this. This is like, there's a reason it hooks all of us really hard, really, really easily. Like,
I mean, the demo, I knew. Did you play the demo originally, Lyle?
No, I
think you were bombed something else, but I was just looking because I know we all love the sort of Metroidvania games. So I remember going through all these demos, and this one, as I played it, was like that was the one of all of them that was like, this
it was the same. I did
really
the same.
Stands out. And we were actually going to talk about this on another podcast, which coming soon to patreon.com/GodIsAGeek. But it's one of those games where I think Lyle, I think it was you that said we should talk about it. It might have been you, Chris. Whoever it was made the right decision, because it's a game that won't get shouted about at all.
No.
And it's.
Is it still got a demo on Steam?
Yeah, still got a demo. That is the only thing I feel that may harm it, is that it isn't on consoles, and a lot of people want to play it on a console. And I hope to God it does well enough, it gets ported, or that someone can port it for them, or something. Yeah. Because like there is a demo of it on Steam. I don't think it's particularly expensive a game. I would have to guess. I didn't see the price of it. It is such a it just feels like, especially I think if you are of a certain age where you played those Zelda games and stuff. I'm looking at it now, $13. It's currently 10% off. It might not be £11.51. It is on Steam.
So
ends on the 9th of April, so by the time this is out, you won't have long. But
it's just so, like you say, you said at the start, it's just so Moorish because of the whole package that it is. Like the movement is incredibly responsive, which it absolutely needs to be for the kind of bullet hell nature of what we're talking about. You need to be able to, park your spaceship in the gap of all the bullets, right? But like the aiming spot on, like I never felt like at any point like my ship was in the wrong place and my bullets weren't firing where I was aiming. Whether that was in the right place or not, I don't know. But like it was going where I intended them to go, right? And it looks really nice. It sounds really nice. It plays really nice, and it flows really well. The flow of the game, like the way it goes and the progression and the things you unlock, it all just sort of works into this really nice package. Like you say, 7.5 hours. There's even stuff after that that's pretty decent, like post-credit content.
I should say there are powers that you can unlock as well, like because it's a Metroidvania that let you go.
Yeah.
I missed one of the optional ones till about the 6.5 hour. Like I don't know. There were this is weird,
I know,
but there's 3 icons that you can use: left bumper, right bumper, and Y. I think it was Y.
Yeah, I think that's right.
The Y one, I didn't get that till very late, and I was like, "Oh,
yeah, I know
this
which
would
one
have
you're
been
talking about.
so helpful."
Yeah.
Just before we move on, by
Yeah.
the way, I was just quickly looking. It is actually, you can get this for a tenner, because there's a bundle again. I don't know if it's on sale for long, but there's a game called Last Command, which is described as a fast-paced snake cross-bullet hell action game, which I think is the other game I was talking about when I was doing a bit of research. And they're both available as a bundle. They're not the same developer, I don't think, but they're available bundled together for £10, $10.25. So,
well, get an extra game and get it cheaper. Why not?
So you might, even if you don't like the other one, like Minishoots.
Oh, it's honestly, it's so good. And I'm so pleased because I played the demo, and it was one of those ones. Was like, crap! I spent a whole evening on that, and then I've got that thing that said, "Now come back for the full game." I'm like, you bastards!
It didn't have a release date at the time either.
No, and it was just like, I remember me and you both thinking that was good, and then you just hope that the rest of it keeps going, and it just does. It's so good.
Well, let's move on to one more game this week. I won't talk about this for very long because it's, I don't want to say it's old because time doesn't move that bloody fast, but Princess Peach Showtime. I didn't get much chance to talk about it when it came out. I think through choice because we had so much else to talk about. I think because we were talking about Dragon's Dogma, Rise of the Ronin and everything else. I do want to just give it a moment because have either of you had the chance to play it?
No, it's Easter now for my daughter, so it'd be ideal, but she's off gallivanting on various holidays that I'm not invited to. But
that's weird. I won't question it.
We should talk about it because obviously I think there's an. I'm reluctant a little bit because of what we've spoken about to just go with it, given she might struggle. So
it's weird,
yeah.
Right? Because when I went to preview it, I played 4 levels on the first floor, so the game's structured a bit like. It sort of reminds me of Luigi's Mansion in terms of how you're progressing up the floors. I don't know if that sings enough to you two, if you know what I'm getting at.
I know. Yeah,
you clear the floor. There's a boss at the end of the floor. You go up to the next one and repeat that. But it's kind of that if it was a Princess Peach platformer, but also kind of a Kirby game. So like each level is a power, like the sword fighter, the whatever it is. The patisserie, which is, I hate to say it, that's kind of the worst one. After the first level, you're like, this is amazing. It's actually kind of the most boring one. It sort of, that idea it has is like the idea, whereas the others do keep it a bit fresher. It's really fun, and some of the levels are better than others, as you'd expect in any kind of game like that.
Yeah.
It's really interesting to play. Like the story's what it is. It's a it's in the Mario verse, or should we call it, or whatever, the Superverse. I don't know. It's one of them stories. It's got as much story as you would expect from a Nintendo first party Super Mario game. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I really like some of the powers. I really like what they've done with it. But it's a really peculiar game because as much as I liked it and enjoyed it, I couldn't help playing it thinking about your daughter, Chris.
Yeah. No, I get it, and this is the thing.
Yeah.
Because like I guess for people that don't know, my daughter is like mad on Princess Peach right now. Like she's seen the Mario movie and now her eyes have been opened.
You've raised her right, is what you're saying.
Yeah, exactly. It's the one thing I'm successful at as a parent. And
not the eating side, nothing about like how to eat normally, but Princess Peach fandom, perfect.
No, I think she eats pizza properly, but
wait, sorry, she eats it what?
Properly, like everyone else. Careful, it's fine.
Okay,
stand down. Yeah. I think I'd probably be like, I know it's how I eat, sweetheart, but everyone's going to judge you, so just do it how Mummy does it.
Just to be clear, he's not patronising her. She's very young. He can call her sweetheart. It's just
it's not like sweetheart.
It's not like Adam Cookie geezer.
Yeah, back to the Cockney white boy.
I've been watching too many YouTube shorts of Peaky Blinders. I'll say it.
She's 6, so she's seen the Mario movie. She loves it. She loves Princess Peach, like everything. She calls herself Princess Peach. My wife's Mario. I'm Luigi, obviously, because I've been relegated as second favourite parent.
I can't remember if we've said this on the podcast.
I know. I just might as well tell everybody now.
Still funny,
I'm second favourite parent.
It is good.
So
you're Luigi and Mum's Mario. I think that's brilliant.
Yeah. And so when this game was announced, like fucking brilliant. Like she'll love this. Like she's like loving Princess Peach and Mario and all that sort of stuff at the right time for this game to come out. When we tell her about it, she's gonna go bananas. It's gonna be great.
Did you tell her about it yet?
No, I haven't told her about it. I haven't told her about it yet because I wanted it to be a surprise. And then I mean, she's probably seen YouTube videos on it, but not knowing what she's looking at, to be honest. But
yeah, fair.
It's she's it's the difficulty thing that let's get to it, I guess, because I've tried her with some games. Like she plays Super Mario Wonder, but she'll play it as like Yoshi. So because he doesn't get hit. Like if you get it, walk into a Koopa Troop, it doesn't matter, right? So like she still falls down all the holes, but you can't work magic on the design of levels. But it removes the element of fear of the enemies. Because like I've tried her on games, I think I said before, like Banjo-Kazooie, and she shits herself as soon as she sees like an enemy walking near her because she's like, "Daddy, help!" Like it's going to kill her.
I choose to take that literally as well.
So like this game, it sound like I think you said before. There's like a couple of powers. I think is the right way to call it, or whatever. Forms,
I guess,
where the difficulty would probably be okay for my daughter, but if the others, it quite needs like a deftness of like platforming or whatever.
Some of them do.
Struggle.
I mean, you, myself, or Lyle would probably go, "Oh no, this is too easy." In some ways, but I don't think it's actually easy enough for someone who is new to games. Because while there are like the patisserie ones, not so bad because it's more. It's a 2-button game. Left stick, 2 buttons. Like everything's that. There's never, and each of the buttons changed based on what context they're used in and what you are. Like so, Detective. He said Detective Pikachu, Detective Peach, Detective Pikachu. That's easy enough because you are wandering around. There's no peril. You're
fine
doing
with that one. Yeah.
Patisserie Peach. Less peril. You can fail, but like you can try again, and it's more about drawing. So like you're drawing the icing on a cake.
Yeah.
I think she'd be fine with that. Moving on to more platformy stuff. I forget the name of them now. There's so many of them. Like the one that's like it's not thief. They wouldn't call it a thief Peach. But it's like she's like wearing a bandit mask.
Criminal Peach.
And she's like got this like gadgets. It's a bit like Bond, but it's not. It is. It might be sleuth. I don't know. It doesn't matter. I think she struggled with that. Like you get five health pips, and you can in like the lobby add an extra 3. But I don't think the issue is I'm running out of health because you get health back pretty quickly. Also, I think the boss levels are just like. I think someone that plays games at the amount she does probably could do the first one. I think the second and third might be progressively, and that's how a game should be. You want the second boss to be harder than the first boss. It would be stupid if it was the other way around. Like the boss is just getting easier as you played.
Yeah, and I guess to be clear,
think it might be struggled with them.
My mandate isn't all games should cater to 6-year-olds, but I do think it's an interesting design choice, given.
But I think they're a little bit damned if they do and damned if they don't, aren't they?
Well, I feel like it should be an option, not a maybe a design. I feel like there should be an accessibility piece. Like I say, most
of
I don't know how you would do it because I've not played.
That's what they do. Yeah. Most of the time, a Mario game would be like, "Fine, you're Mario."
Yeah, no, exactly.
And your daughter is throwing sparkles with the Wiimote.
Yeah, 100%.
That's what I always think back to.
Yeah, exactly. So it could be that, but I guess because obviously, like in Wonder, there is that accessibility in the sense of the less peril or whatever. And I don't know what is possible in some of the forms to do that. But
this is it. It's less. I mean, I'm not saying it affects the quality of the game. No. The game's the game. I gave it I think an 8, and I really did enjoy it. Like it's not too long. It's not too short. There's enough bits in it that you're like, well, that was a little bit challenging. Never much.
Yeah.
But it's odd because I don't know if it's because of when it came out and the games it was up against. It just feels like a Nintendo first-party game. I would have thought there'd be more noise around. I've seen adverts on telly, to be fair, so it's not like it's just invisible. But I really like it. I really like the forms. It is so charming that Nintendo continues to do this thing where even because when you load into a level, I don't know what the name for it is. I tried looking it up and couldn't. But when you are, I've not been to a play, but I'm aware of these happening, and I suspect you two are more culturally aware of these sort of things. But when you go to a play, if you're in the lobby, you're having your pre-play, cocktail or whatever. There's a klaxon sound that is to alert you that the play is about to start.
Yeah.
Is that what you would just call it? A klaxon? Is it got a name? Is it a
specific... I don't know. No, okay.
No, but you know what I mean. It's like it goes...
Yeah, it's almost like an alarm system.
Siren, like klaxon. Yeah. Anyway, so every time you load in to a level, it's got the loading screen, and then you hear this... And for the first few times, I was
like a Monster Hunter horn.
Yeah, but every time I was going, what are the kids doing up there? What is that annoying noise? And then they were both stood next to me when I was loading. I was like, it's the bloody game. Yeah. And I hadn't realised that's how dense I am sometimes. But anyway, so the load screens are a bit janky. Like when you get a load screen that's got animation on it.
Oh, and then it jars.
Big time. And you're like, this is surprising. But on the other hand of it, right, every single floor you go in as Peach, you can, there's like a floor, a staircase up, and you go up the stairs to the next floor. Every single one of them, you can just move to near the staircase, and she jumps on the banister and slides down it. Totally unnecessary little detail.
I feel like they're doing more and more of that unnecessary additional animation stuff.
I totally found it by mistake, and I was like, well, that's really sweet. And I was like, but why do the load screens do that?
Yeah, yeah.
Anyway, I really like it. I would definitely suggest play the demo of it especially if you are like, I want to play this with my kids, because I think it has Patisserie Peach and it's the first sword fighter level, and I think the sword fighter one you need to play, and you could gauge from that the ability level required, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And with that, we can comfortably and confidently move forward into listener correspondence.
Chris Hyde. Listener correspondence. It's time. It's time. Chris Hyde. Okie doke. So, first questions this week are from Mikhail, and the first few are for all of us. So, lads, what was your favourite moment in a game this year so far? If spoilers, mention which game had your favourite moment. Surely it is all spoilers. So that's
spoilers for me. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, spoilers. So I'm not even going to. Definitely.
Oh.
Has anyone got one that isn't a spoiler? I mean, the moments are spoilers, aren't they?
Yeah, I think moments are one of the most spoilery.
Regardless, game of the year podcast.
What game would yours be then, Lyle? What game would it be?
I'm trying to remember. I definitely remember having one and being like, oh yeah, that's my moment.
The one you mentioned to me that you wanted me to see was in Persona 3 Reload.
Oh, true. It's probably that. It's probably not one that I would necessarily be certain that I'd want to count in terms of best, it not really being from this year, even.
Yeah, no, fair.
How I'd specify, but there is a moment in Persona 3 Reload that I really was like, oh shit, didn't see that coming.
Again, don't know where things will land at year end, or whether I'm saying this is necessarily the favourite, but the one that comes to mind right now is something from the Thaumaturge that I didn't see coming at all and shocked me when it happened. So I'll just...
Hellbomb.
Oh my god!
That's not a spoiler, and we can all agree
it's not
that
a spoiler,
was good.
Is it? Oh, we should talk about that. Let's talk about that briefly.
Oh, I think you should go to Discord and join Patreon.
Yeah,
and
there's a
see.
video clip there that tells the whole story.
There is a video clip.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
In fact, I think I made the first time it happened into a YouTube short.
Yeah, I think you have thrown me over hot coals with that one. It's fine. Okay, so yeah, that's definitely a shout.
Hellbomb. It's generally just being blown up in that game. Usually good moments pretty much every time you play it.
I will say, sticking with Helldivers 2, that I think I put it on Discord. I didn't put it on as a YouTube short, but there is a clip that will be going around of when Mick stole the grenade launcher I had cooled down, then used
that was so funny. Oh, was that yours?
But it's his laugh. I've known him. We all have a long time. I've never heard him laugh like that before.
It was maniacal.
It was maniacal. Is the only word?
Yeah, that's the word I use. And I can't think of a better word.
No, there is no better term for that laugh. It was like laugh +1 from him. I've just never heard him laugh that way. There was malice in it.
Yeah, the way he knew exactly what
there was.
It was the way he'd stolen your grenade launcher and then used that weapon to kill us all.
Yeah, not just me. Like, if he just killed me with it, it would still be funny, but it was all of us. Every single one of us.
He waited until we all put together. Yeah. Okay. Next question. If you had unlimited free time right now, what 2024 game would you play right now? Now, I'm reading this as a game I otherwise wouldn't have the time to play. Because otherwise the answer is Dragon's Dogma 2, and that's really boring. So I would say, because my answer would be different if I said, what game, if I had unlimited free time, would I make time for in 2024? And the answer probably would be Persona 3.
Really?
I will not play that
no,
game.
No.
So I think if I had unlimited free time,
and to be honest, as much as I love it, nor should you. Really?
Okay.
I love it.
No, not with what else is
on.
But if I had unlimited free time, that is the game I probably would play.
Persona's a great answer for that. Full stop. Just any Persona game.
Yeah. So
I'd say Helldivers too. Like for me, the way I read it was like you always having to play other games because it's the job. If you could sort of not for a bit, what would you spend your personal time? Maybe I'm reading more into it, but I do love Helldivers. So I just think, and I don't even think it's the actual game I love in that. I think it's playing with you guys, and it's just
it's the absolute
car
crash cooperative gameplay that is what makes that game.
Never has cooperative been less true about what that game is.
Yeah,
very much in inverted commas.
Mm-hmm.
I think that'll be for me, Helldivers.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have stopped playing Balatro yet. So that's probably me. Unfortunately, I haven't played it much. Like, I've maybe done the odd run since my review went live, but since then I've kind of been too busy playing other things. And
it's put in that box over there, in it, where you're like, I'm not going to delete you.
And it's not like I won't have forgotten how it all works and stuff when I get back to it or anything. Like, it's perfect to dip into, and I definitely will go back to it. But I just think that's the game where if suddenly I had stopped time and that I was in that moment of how into it I wouldn't have stopped. So that would be the game, I guess.
I think that game and Stacklands are in a little box for me now. Where I'm like, I can't. I really want to, but I can't. Yeah, no, that's a great shout, Balatro.
Oh, Stacklands, don't get me started.
No.
What was the last coffee you had? Would you like me to go first?
Sure. Why not?
I had a coffee this morning, which was a Cafe Direct Machu Picchu coffee bean to cup coffee.
Okay, now I understand. Because I was going to say I don't get it. I've had 4 today. What's the big deal about having coffee? I get it. Okay, right.
I assume that's what he means. So mine was that with some coffee mate in it. Americano. There we go.
Coffee mate, interesting.
Well, I just find that it tastes a little bit creamier and doesn't go as cold if you have milk in it. I know you can heat up the milk, obviously, but I tend to have...
Oh, you don't have milk either? You don't do coffee mate and milk?
No, just coffee mate.
Okay.
I think it's one of those things where, now I've had it enough. It's like when you come off sugar in tea when you're younger.
Right.
And then when you try and put it in, it tastes... Well, I could still have coffee with milk in it, but now I don't know, I think it just tastes creamier
coffee mate since I was younger, yeah.
I know, it's a proper 90s throwback, isn't it?
I forgot it existed. Yeah. I don't think Lyle drinks coffee, do you?
I'll have it occasionally, if I'm out and about and I just happen to be going into a Costa or something, but I honestly can't remember the last coffee I had, so I can't answer this, unfortunately.
I had an espresso. No, I didn't. What did I have? I've forgotten what it was called. It's the one where it's like a latte, but there's a bit of chocolate on top.
Flat white?
No, not flat white. How dare you? It's like...
Sorry, say again what you said you had.
It's like a latte.
Yeah.
But then it has
Oh, is it a mocha? Are you talking about mocha?
Oh, God, I can't even remember what I think. I can't remember.
Cappuccino?
Yes, thank you. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know why flat white got the mocking, but a cappuccino is fine.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like it's
no, you idiot.
It's all just different levels of.
Is it maybe how I ask for them when I go, "Oh, darling, have a cappuccino"?
Yeah.
Is it? And then
you want chocolate sprinkles?
The answer is always yes.
I
feel a bit adult. I've gone from a latte to a cappuccino, and I feel like I'm graduating up the ranks, and I feel a bit more adult and mature.
Just to bring that back down, I did try the other day the hot cross bun latte from McDonald's. All right.
Yeah.
As all of those seasonal coffees from McDonald's are, they're just all right.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So there you go. If you've not tried it, you ain't missing out. It was all right.
Oh, if it was the last coffee I had, my favorite coffee is from a random local student coffee house that older idiots like me can also go in. But they do a dark chocolate mocha that is just it hits on all the right levels. It's
nice.
The perfect bitter to go with the coffee. So maybe that was the last coffee I had. So that's me.
Even if it isn't, that's a good answer.
Yeah, sure.
And he can't prove it. So
no.
Whatever. Fuck him. Are you going to try Final Fantasy 14 on Xbox?
No.
Cool. Okay, so last question from Mick is: what April and May game do you want to play ASAP? he says as he opens the God is a game release document online to remind himself what is there. So
it's a bloody good month.
Yeah, there's quite a bit coming in there in April, May.
It is. It's a pretty good month. I mean, I'm happy to go first.
Go for it.
Should we try not to all pick? Should we say if you pick a game, that's
what we normally do. Which is why I was saying about me going first. But I'm more than happy to.
No. Listen, you're the question master. You go for it.
So, I haven't played it, but from what other people have told me
I know
about
what you're gonna.
How good this game could be and what it could be. Tales of Kenzera Zao.
Oh, okay.
I'm interested in.
That's not where I thought you were going.
Well, I have others. There are others, but I don't feel I'll have time.
No, just say them all. Let's see how it goes.
No.
I don't feel I'll have time for the other one.
Lyle and I
I don't know if the other one is going to be too booby. But let's carry on.
Tales of Kenzera Zao.
Yeah.
Have you not played the demo?
I haven't. I need to play it, but you told me it was great.
So you just took my word and it's like, I'll just play it when you get it.
That's all you need, isn't it?
I appreciate that. I respect that. Yeah. Lyle? I'll go last.
I would say Aiden Chronicle.
That was the one I was. I don't think I have the time for, but that is, yeah.
Yeah, but I think that looks really, really good. Yeah. I secretly have a May game as well, so if it doesn't get mentioned, I've got a
May game as well. So,
I do want to mention with Ayuden, I had not. Basically, Lyle played the preview build, which I had access to as well, and he was like, "This is amazing." I was like, "All right, I'll have a look at it then." And then I was like, so I started. I did some news posts and stuff on it on the website. There's shit in those trailers that we did not see in our preview build, and I'm like, this game might actually be way bigger than I ever thought. Like,
I think it's gonna be big.
Have you seen the trailers? Like, have you seen?
I haven't. No.
Well, I won't say what it is then, but there's just stuff in there that I'm like, that wasn't in the first 5 hours. I mean, mind you, there's a menu in the equipment that's for the first 5-6 hours of the preview build just says you can't do anything with this, so I don't even know what that is.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, this is tough though. Since we're going to move on from this one, I'm going to give 2 shout-outs. I'm going to give a shout-out to No Rest for the Wicked, because I'm fascinated to see what Moon Studios do with their next game, not being another Ori game and being early access. Like, really interested. Stellar Blade, because everyone who's played the demo has told me, my God, this is amazing, and a lot more than what it's going to be, But my game's going to be... It's going to be Top Spin. We haven't had tennis games for bloody years.
No,
tennis games.
Well, we have.
Fun.
We've never had a good one. Like, we haven't had. We've had average ones.
But I mean is, since the days of Top Spin versus Virtua Tennis.
Do you know what I mean?
We haven't had that for a long time. And tennis games anyone can play. Like, you don't have to love sport to play tennis games.
Honestly, it's one of those ones I've low key got my eye on that I hope is really good, because then it's like you say, like,
I'd love a tennis game with good online, and that's we're in a different era now for tennis games, like where they can look incredible, but they can still. I'm big into the idea of that being good. Yeah. Do we go back around May?
Yeah.
I think it's only fair that I start May. I think, is that not fair? If it's not fair, it's not fair.
Yeah. Snake draft rules. Anyone who's in the...
I think mine's going to be free.
Let's change the rules as well, since we're changing the direction, and say this time we can all go for the same game, because I think it's really cruel if I take this game. And
you take Paper Mario.
Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door, because quite frankly, any excuse to be forced to play through that game again because it is new is something to look forward to in a month.
Yeah, it's great.
End of.
Mm-hmm. That's good. Right, back to my middle spot again.
Yeah, back to you.
I'm going to say World of Goo 2 is coming in May, and I really liked the original for just being this completely weird and unique and out of nowhere, like, early indie game.
Yeah.
So,
sorry, I've just realised what Chris is going to take based on what he said before.
So he's fine. He's
it's
fine.
All fine. Yeah, World of Goo 2 are never going to take this one.
No, but World of Goo 2 is a game where you're like, it's a bit like it's a bit like Dragon's Dogma 2. We're like, this is definitely real, right? It's a real game that's really happening.
Yeah,
I'll play that. Go on, Chris, say it.
I'll be the one person that will be interested to play Senua's Saga Hellblade 2.
Oh, I didn't think that's what you were picking at all.
What did you think I was picking?
Well, the way you were sort of saying it is if no one would want to play this, I assumed it would be like Homeworld 3, because that's more your strategy.
No, I just assumed that.
Space.
I know the thing is, I really enjoyed the first one. I know you were kind of like lukewarm to it, and I don't know if Lyle played the first one.
I enjoyed it. I'll play it because from what they've said on that last developer stream, apparently it's going to be quite a short game comparatively.
Yeah, I do like that.
Yeah. So yeah, I really liked the first one. So I would be really interested to see after all the development stuff where it lands. And I do think whether it ends up being amazing or not, I do think there'll be some interesting stuff and moments in that game, no matter what. I'd be incredibly surprised if there isn't.
I don't know if you noticed, but just recently there's previews come out for it, and basically, from what I can gauge, it is like one of those games where, a lot of people say like, oh yeah, these new consoles, there's nothing really to show off on them to show. There is, by the way, that's nonsense. But apparently, this is one of those games where you're like, look at this.
Yeah, exactly, and that's what I feel like. And
which really plays for them as well because they've had a long road to.
So that I'll get to experience all of it. Brilliant.
Hey, listen, mate, Rise Son of Rome was short, and that looked great as well.
That's a weird game to bring up. None of us were ready for that. Bit of Rise Son of Rome, spelled with a Y.
Didn't own an Xbox till, 2022 or something. But yeah. So we will pick different games, so that's good. Last question then this week.
Just to mention, we have got some others that we're going to do in the next episode. It's my fault. We're just a bit short on time. My fault.
It's fine. So the last question we'll do this week is from Pooh, who says, if you had to live in another country that has English as the first language, which would it be? And then he handily got a link of all the countries that speak English.
Do we do the same thing here where we can't live on the same place? We've got to have
one. I mean, there are enough choices.
I don't want to live near either of you two in the
same. No, there are enough choices here, so I think it's fine.
Like, it's bad enough we have to podcast together. I mean,
exactly.
Yeah.
So
does that mean Chris goes? No, Lyle's got to go first, surely. He's been middle every time.
Yeah. I did a bit of research for this one because I always so well prepared for the question section of these podcasts. But I did happen to see this one and did a little bit of looking, sort of check the accessibility out for my partner's wheelchair. I having to really think about
this is proper.
This is proper research. Yeah,
it is. And New Zealand have put a lot of effort into accessibility. It's a country that seems like it's pretty fucking banging. It's like run by not cunts. So
generally speaking.
Which is harder to find at the moment.
So. It is. So I'm going to go fucking live in New Zealand. And it's going to really mess up the time zone stuff for us getting a podcast together. But we'll see.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah. Who's next then? Is it Chris or me?
I don't mind. Do you want to go next or I'll go next?
Well, I can't help but notice there's a Cook Islands on here and a Christmas island as well. And it's like, is there anything called Lyle on here that's close enough to like the Lylands?
I didn't even realise that there was Christmas Island.
Yeah, Christmas Island next to Cook Islands.
Lyleberia.
If the Lyle fits.
Yeah.
I mean, Lyleberia's pretty. Yeah, fair.
Yeah, Lyleberia I like.
I'm now going down them one by one, seeing.
Yeah.
So you better go next.
Yeah.
The Bahamas sounds pretty good. Would it be all right? I've not been. Would it be good?
I imagine so.
Doesn't sound bad, does it?
No, I mean,
I've been to a couple of these places. Like Belgium's great.
I think I've been through Belgium. I don't think I ever stopped off the coast.
Belgium is great. I mean, it's got beer, chips, and waffles and chocolate. What else do you need?
Okay, I'll go to Belgium.
Yeah. Belgium's great.
Well, I'll go to Belgium.
Yeah. Hong Kong's fucking brilliant as well.
You've been to Hong Kong?
Yeah.
Bloody hell.
I did a tour of China, which is where I proposed to my wife on the Great Wall of China. Just to up the ante between all my friends, and yeah, the last part of the tour was like in Hong Kong.
Dad in action here, isn't it? Like,
absolute arsehole I am as a friend, and Hong Kong's insane because it's like literally, obviously it's a city, but it's got like its own beach. And everything's just like condensed in a really small space, but it's all insane. So it's got like inner cities, like this random park in the middle where you can't hear any traffic, and then there's a beach on one side, and then there's like old school like markets and food halls and stuff as well.
Are you picking Hong Kong?
What's that? No, I probably could
okay.
Pick like Christmas Island or the Bahamas or something.
Okay, no, sorry, I've just seen one on here, so I've changed my mind. But you do yours.
Norfolk Island.
No, Canada.
Oh, yeah. Do you know what? I would. Canada.
That was my number 2.
I do think Canada is like a really.
No, you said Hong Kong. I'm having Canada.
No, okay. Let's not discuss things then. let's just say things and then silence.
Well, sorry, if I can read the question again. If you had to live in another country that has English as the first language, which would it be? I don't believe the question is if you had to live in another country that has English as the first language, which would it be? And please discuss your motives.
Oh, okay. So we're being anal now. In my section...
You can't do this to him in his section. Oof.
Don't be anal in my section.
It's fine. I will just sit here with cold dinner. And now people know why.
Wow.
It's pretty cold in Canada.
Your question's not answered because Adam wants fucking warm carbonara.
Yes, okay.
Go on,
I agree, Adam. Canada sounds great. Play the jingle.
Well, no. What do I get then? Am I stuck with the Cook Islands? Is the Cook Islands any good?
No, I fucking hell. I've said about 4 different things.
But which one are you actually
New Zealand?
Or is this
Christmas
without
Island,
the
I don't
drama?
care. Like,
is this another posh Chris thing where you're like, well, I've got one in Hong Kong and I've got.
There we go.
I was just trying to embellish for the crowd, but I won't bother next time.
No, you were just. I know what you were doing. You were just trying to make sure that my garlic bread got really crusty and cold.
Yeah, the worst garlic bread. That's what we were really looking for.
Should I play the jingle?
Fucking play it. Chris Hyde. Listen to Correspondence. It's time. It's time. Chris Hyde.
Sorry. I'm genuinely laughing at the fact that people are like, "Oh, he said he's having his dinner." It really is. It really is. The fact that I've made my timings all wrong. Thank you very much for listening to this podcast or watching this podcast if you do on YouTube or if you listen on Spotify. There's so many ways of doing stuff. Like I remember podcasts used to be. Now I'm just doing it to myself, aren't I?
I was going to say you were doing a memory lane piece.
I was just about to go off on a big old. Oh, remember back when podcasts were only on Apple Music and. Yeah.
He's the man of many voices.
He's the man of many impressions today, yeah.
I actually can do accents, but I get a bit gun shy when you do them because I feel like I'm going to. I don't know. I just feel like someone's going to... In my head, I'm quite good at them, and someone's going to go, they're fucking dreadful.
Fuck, that's awful.
I mean, there are a few you don't go near. I would never attempt a Scottish accent.
I'm not getting drawn on this. I can't do accents, so I'm not getting drawn on it.
But if we all spent a bit of time doing accents, just imagine how cold that garlic bread's going to be. So.
Yeah. Thank you very much for watching or listening to this podcast. We will get to those listener questions next week. I do apologise. Something has cropped up, and it is my fault. It's not cropped up so much as it hit boiling point, and the pasta's getting soggy. Yeah, thanks very much. Thank you especially to Chris and Talal, obviously, and for you for our questions, listeners. The correspondence section wouldn't exist without those. Again, Chris, Lyle, thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's been great.
Everybody else, we'll speak to you next week or whenever you choose to listen. Bye-bye for now.